welcome. My name is Peace Mitchell and I'm co-founder of Osmompreneur, the Women's Business School, and Women Changing the World Press. Today we are celebrating the launch of our new book, Courage and Confidence, and we are hosting a 5-day online festival to celebrate the launch of this book. Before we begin, I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land that I work and live on, the Mamu people of North Queensland, and I pay my respects to traditional owners past, present and emerging right across Australia and the Torres Strait. My guest today is Sarah Stoddart. Welcome, Sarah. How are you?
Hi, Peace. I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
Really good, really good. For everybody who is watching live right now, I would love for you to comment and let us know where you're tuning in from. And of course, if you have any questions for Sarah as we go through the presentation, I'd love you to post those in the comments as well. But Sarah, for people who haven't met you before, I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are and what it is that you do in your business.
Yeah, sure. So as you said, my name is Sarah Stoddart. I am a lawyer and my firm is Vitality Law Australia. So I started that firm on 1 November 2020, right in the midst of the pandemic with a 5-month-old baby. I kicked that off. So looking back, that was quite a brave move at the time, but something that I kind of took a leap of faith and did. So my firm, we specialise in helping clients in the healthcare industry. So I've got a commercial law focus, specialising in the healthcare and predominantly with pharmacists. So we do a lot of business transactions, regulatory approval work, leasing, employment law, anything that kind of touches their business. I'm obviously also a co-author of Courage and Confidence, which is super exciting. That's my first collaboration in the form of a book, which has been a terrific experience. I'm also a mum to a 2-year-old and a stepmum to an 8-year-old, and I'm based in Brisbane.
Amazing, amazing. Well, it's wonderful to have you here, Sarah, and I'm really looking forward to your presentation today.
Thanks, Peace.
All right, well, let's roll the presentation and we'll come back with a Q&A after.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me for my masterclass as we come together to celebrate the launch of Courage and Confidence. This morning's topic is having the confidence to pivot. This topic is one that I have lived and breathed now, not only because of the book, but also because I've had to find the confidence to pivot in my own life. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sarah Stoddart. I am based in Brisbane and I'm the founder and sole director of Vitality Law Australia, a boutique commercial law firm with a focus on healthcare business, employment law and conveyancing. I launched Vitality Law Australia in November 2020, just 5 months after the birth of my first child, and unbeknownst to me at the time, just 4 months before I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Finding my feet in 2021 as a new mum with a new business and a chronic illness was challenging. But I rose to the challenge, and in November 2021, just 1 year on from launching my business, I was named the Lawyers Weekly Australian Women in Law Sole Practitioner of the Year. I was also a finalist in the Osmompreneur Business Awards in the categories of Disabled Business Excellence and Emerging Entrepreneur. I didn't expect to launch my firm when I did. It came about following a series of events and with little time to plan. However, I'd always had a hunch to have my own business, work flexibly, and do law differently. So with that, I ask you, what's your hunch? What dream do you want to make a reality? It's time to make that dream a reality. This morning, I'm going to take you through 5 of my key tips to having the confidence to pivot, whether that's in law, in business, or in life. Tip number 1, ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? This question is so simple, but so powerful. When I was deliberating about what to do with my career in law, I sat with a friend and mulled over some ideas. Like so many other people before they start out in business, I was grappling with the challenges of the rabbit holes of what if and limited self-belief. I was struggling to see the key metrics which would form the base of my business. Instead, I was just getting caught up in the detail. Like I said, the what ifs. My friend looked at me and asked, "What's the worst that can happen?" And what a powerful question that was. The worst that can happen is that the business doesn't succeed and I'd need to get a job. Now, I was in my early 30s, so getting a job wasn't going to be an issue in law, although it is a bit tough in the recruitment at the moment, but at my level, it would have been okay. I wasn't going to put my family into financial distress, and I wasn't going to break any laws. So when you're considering your next big decision, your pivot, I strongly encourage you to ask yourself the question, what's the worst that can happen? Because more often than not, the worst case scenario is temporary and actually not so bad. It will not have a material impact on your life as a whole. It might be a blimp in the road, but is unlikely to be something you cannot recover from. To assist you to find the confidence to pivot, I also recommend that you focus on key metrics. What are the key metrics that you need to achieve in order for the business to be viable? What income do you need to pay your bills for your family? How many hours will it take to achieve that income? Once you've assessed your key metrics, you need to then set a time frame. How long will you give the business before you decide it isn't viable? For me, it was 6 months. Your time frame needs to be long enough for you to actually have a good chance to get your business off the ground. Set a realistic time frame and you'll be amazed at what you can achieve. You also need to remember to take a step back and not be so close to the business. Look at the bigger picture. Tip number 2. If you're anything like me, you want things to be perfect before calling them done. However, when it comes to life in business, there is never a perfect time to do anything. You'll never feel like you're ready. You'll never feel like you have enough money or that you have enough time to bring your dream to reality. But living in that mindset only guarantees one thing, that you will not propel yourself forward to be bigger and better than you are today. At the time of launching my firm, our world was in the midst of the COVID pandemic. My child was only 5 months old, and as mentioned earlier, I was in the midst of being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. That involved about 8 hospital visits, several tests and appointments, and of course, additional stress for me and my family. Most people would think that any one of those factors would be enough to decide not to take a leap into business, but I did it anyway. There is always something that can be perceived as a roadblock, and the time will never be right. The only way you can propel yourself forward to be bigger and better than you are today is to get started. Do something to start. Just take that first step. For me, that meant deciding on a business name, registering my company, and getting the minimal infrastructure in place to enable me to start work as soon as I could. The rest just had to follow, and it does follow when time, space, and budget permits. I would encourage you not to stay comfortable with your decisions. Step outside of your comfort zone and take a leap of faith. Go that one step further and be courageous in your pursuit for success. If you're waiting for the perfect time to do something, you can be assured the perfect time will not come. You just have to get started. If not now, then when? The journey of a solopreneur can be isolating and lonely. To make sure that you have somewhere to turn on the hard days and to give yourself access to a brain's trust who will listen and genuinely understand your ideas, your challenges, and your wins, you need to find a tribe. When embarking on your new chapter or going it alone, it can be easy to get stuck in the rut of just working away, not seeing the light of day, connecting with people, either online or in person. Whilst that might be a good way to get work done, it's not a good way to go on in business. You need connection to share ideas, challenges, and wins. You need to find people who understand those challenges and share your experiences. It can be difficult to find that group of people to call your tribe, and I would encourage you to keep searching. They are out there. The group may not be big, but it needs to be mighty and hit all of the right points for you. It may be that you need to look outside of your industry to find the people that you are looking for. It is important that your tribe understands your industry, or is it more important that they understand the challenges of small business, parenthood, the juggle, whatever it is that you face? Think about what and who it is that you're looking for, and then search for them. Sharing challenges and wins is a big part of small business. We need to share the challenges to get them off our chest and to get ideas from others. We need to share and celebrate our wins to keep us moving forward and acknowledge our achievements. The next tip is to be purposeful. Be purposeful about your decisions and how you will spend your time in business. That is one of the secrets to overcoming distractions. You will always feel like someone is moving faster or doing better than you. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. You don't know what is going on behind their closed doors, nor do you need to worry about that. We all have long to-do lists, and it can be difficult to it can be difficult to focus on our tasks. It can become a struggle. We find ourselves on that hamster wheel or simply procrastinating from what it is we need to get done. So what's the solution to this? Write lists. I know it sounds archaic, but take out that pen and paper and write down what you need to do. Document all of your ideas. Once you have everything down on paper, you can then prioritize what has to be done. I personally keep a book which has a one-day list and a to-do list. So essentially the to-do list is what I have to work through in life and in business, separate lists, and then a list of one day. So when I have that idea for my business, I jot that down and I do it one day. That way I can prioritize, okay, that's not urgent, but this has to be done in the business now. Then as you work through that list, make sure that you mark off your achievements, and you will be surprised at the end of the year, month, whatever your time frame is, at how much you have actually achieved. And you can see that from the crossed off items on the list. Carry it around with you, that book. When everything comes into your mind, jot it down, and then you don't have that distraction. So be purposeful about what you're doing. It also is a point of reference for when you need a creative outlet, a break from your work. You can go and do something else that's on your list. And over time, you will definitely achieve that. The fifth and final tip is to start small but dream big. So Rome wasn't built in a day. Everything takes time, commitment, all of our energy, I suppose. And we all have other things to focus on in life. We can't be everything to everyone, and that includes our business. So just start small within your capacity, but continue to dream big, as that is where you will achieve growth. So with small business comes the roller coaster of emotions, the lack of time to plan, and also rushing the process, because at the end of the day, we just have to get the work done. What are the solutions to this? Well, start small, as I've spoken about. Stay calm. Don't get caught up on that hamster wheel that I spoke about earlier. Just take it one step at a time. Work through those lists, tick one thing off at a time, and just focus. Focus too on your foundations. What is the base of your business that you need to build and then maintain? Anything on top of that, some things might fall, some things might grow or rise. But what is that base foundation that you need to make sure you have bedded down strong to carry your business forward? I would encourage you to dream big. Go for it. Achieve those dreams. Make them your reality. We have come together this week to celebrate the launch of Courage and Confidence. If you are not already aware, Courage and Confidence is a business book by women for women. I am one of 24 proud Australian authors of that book, and together with the other authors, we share our advice, tips and tools for succeeding in business. The book is sure to inspire and motivate. If you'd like to secure your signed copy of the book, please contact me. Thank you for your time this morning. If you would like to connect with me, please feel free to contact me via any of the means set out the slide here. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again and enjoy the rest of the day.
Wow, thank you, Sarah. That was a beautiful presentation. So much to dive into there. So I would love to encourage everybody who's watching to leave any questions for Sarah that you have. I can already see we've got quite a few comments there from people who are tuning in. So thank you for your comments. Catherine Nolan has said she loves the start small but dream big. And she also loved the idea of finding a pod, however small, of people who are reaching for the same thing that you are. There was so much I wanted to dive into, but I might just start there. When you started out, the challenges you were facing were significant. You know, you had a 5-month-old baby. That's a big thing on its own. But as well as that, you just received the diagnosis for MS. That's a big thing in life to be acknowledging and accepting and working through.
It is,
was
yeah.
it an isolating time for you at the start of your business?
It was a really strange timepiece because in addition to that, we also had the global pandemic. So everyone was in lockdown. You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't, hug anyone. And I was, as you said, going through a lot of things. Now, in the few months after I started my business, I was hospitalized 8 times because I was going through this diagnosis and having relapses and that sort of thing. So it was isolating and it was scary because I didn't know the extent of my diagnosis, and you think MS and you automatically think stuck in a wheelchair. Now, fortunately, I've come to learn that's not the case, and people do live relatively normal lives with that diagnosis. But it was definitely isolating, juggling all of that, the sleep deprivation that comes with a newborn, exacerbated the feelings that I was experiencing. So having a tribe around me, which I did already have in place. Now, fortunately for me, majority of those are women, so they do resonate with the challenges, particularly of being a mum and a new mum. So having them there and being able to reach out to them was really great because I was trying to start this business and, of course, look as though everything was going really well, and I was there to provide services to my clients while kind of just absolutely trying to keep my head above water. So having that group, I just think, is absolutely key. And if they are in your industry and understand your challenges, then that's great. If they're not, then I think that's still perfectly okay because you can often relate a challenge of one industry to a challenge to another industry. It's pretty rare that a challenge is unique to a particular industry.
Yeah, I think those challenges you faced, the word that comes to me is courage, and how fitting our book, Courage and Confidence. Must have taken quite a lot of courage to get through that early time, and how wonderful to have people around you to support you as well. But I think
on reflection, I would absolutely agree. It was a courageous move. At the time, I didn't see it as that. It was literally just one day at a time, getting back into work, going to medical appointments, making sure the baby was okay. So I think I was so caught up in what was going on, and that I think on reflection is why I gave one of those solution points to just step back from it and just look at the bigger picture rather than getting caught up on that hamster wheel in the nitty-gritty of, oh my goodness, I've got to do this, this, and this. It was like, hang on a minute, what you're experiencing, people aren't actually seeing that from the outside. So just be kind to yourself and take a step back.
Yeah, I really loved that, the last point where you talked about just start small, but dream big, and it can be a roller coaster, but stay calm. And I think that's something we all need to be reminded of. Just, it's okay. Don't get overwhelmed. Try and stay calm. It's okay if you just take one step at a time. You're still making progress. You're still moving forward. Even if it's only a small bit, it's okay. And I think that's a great reminder.
Exactly. And just chipping away at it. And I think that ties into the tip that I gave about keeping a list. So I've got a book, as I said, with the 2 different running lists. And you'd be amazed if you just chip away at something, by the end of a certain time period, the things that you've crossed off, you can see, oh, wow, I have actually made progress and I have achieved.
Yeah, I think that's so important, isn't it? And the other thing that you said is celebrate the wins, all the little wins along the way. And, just ticking off one thing, that's something that you can be proud of and you can celebrate. And I think when you're going through a particularly difficult time, focusing on positives like that and how much you have achieved rather than how much you still have to do is really important to help you stay grounded and stay focused and stay positive. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I would really agree. And the win doesn't have to be significant. It doesn't have to be I landed a new client or we, made this much money this week. It might just be that I had 10 minutes to sit and enjoy a hot cup of tea on the balcony. Mums know that having a hot drink can be difficult at times. So that might be the win, or it might be hearing the birds singing after the rain had stopped in Brisbane, or the community spirit. It doesn't have to be something, you think win and you think, oh, dollars or client or something. It doesn't have to be. It's just something that brought positivity to your life. And I think having that tribe around you to keep you accountable to identify those wins, even in some of the toughest days and weeks, is really, really important.
Yeah, I love that. I love the magic of just noticing those smallest things, like you said, a bird singing on the tree outside. And I think that focusing on those kind of positives and small wins really does affect your mindset and affect your ability to stay positive and ultimately be successful. If you're able to find the joy in the small things and notice those wins along the way, I think that's really powerful.
I agree.
Yeah. So you also talked about what's the worst that can happen, and really, like, when you're feeling overwhelmed or you're facing a challenge, to take yourself all the way to that worst case scenario and then realize, well, even if that did happen, that big, terrible thing, I could still probably just do this and that, and I'd be able to get over it. I think that's really great advice. Do you want to talk us through that a bit more?
Yeah, sure. So, it sounds a bit flippant just to say, well, ask yourself what's the worst that can happen. But I vividly remember that moment on my friend's, balcony. I'd been crying. I was like, what about this? What about this? What am I going to do with this? And she said, hang on a minute. What's the worst that can happen? You decide to start your business and it doesn't work. The clients don't come, or you don't make enough income. What's the actual worst that can happen here? And I was like, well, I just get a job. And she's like, exactly. So why are we even going over this? And I think, like I say, it sounds flippant, but when you actually stop and think about it, it's quite incredible, provided that the worst that can happen won't put you in financial distress, won't break the law, then really you can recover from anything and you can just move on, pick yourself up, dust yourself off and go on to the next thing. And I think it's really simple but so powerful to remind yourself of that, because the worst isn't, life ending or anything like that. So yes, it might be a little blimp on the radar of your life, but in the scheme of things, it's okay.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful, because we can get caught up in those negative thoughts and, oh my God, what's going to happen? I don't know. And it's all going to end badly. But actually,
yeah, and we worry about things that haven't even happened yet. So I was worrying about the business failing before I'd even started the business. And it's like, hang on a minute, why are you jumping to that conclusion?
Yeah, and I think sometimes our mind just takes us there. But that's a really powerful way to bring it back and just say, well, even if that did happen, even if the whole business had to stop and I had to get a job, that actually wouldn't be that bad. We would all be still okay. So I think that's really powerful.
And I think linked to that is that time frame. So what's the worst that can happen? Determine that. And then how long are you actually going to give yourself to have a go at this? Because I think if you go in not knowing how long it might work. Now, every business is going to be different in terms of how long it takes to actually, establish it a little bit with a solid foundation. But as I said, for me, it was 6 months. And I said, well, if I haven't achieved this by the end of this 6 months, and it was based on income predominantly, then I'll look for a job. So that stops that just pedaling, feeling like you're going nowhere. And I think it also puts a positive pressure on you to actually give it a good crack for a period of time and then reflect at the end of that time frame.
Yeah, I think that's really sensible advice to give yourself a goal to work towards, and then, keep trying until you get there and then see how you feel rather than quitting early. Yeah.
Yes.
So the other thing you talked about was, if not now, then when? And you faced so many challenges at the time when you did make that leap to start your business, but there's never a perfect time. if it hadn't been the obstacles you faced then, you could have waited 12 months and there still would have been things and reasons that you would have said, oh, well, no, let's put that off. Yeah. Do you want to dive deeper into that? If not now, then when?
Yeah, so again, a really simple but really powerful question. And yes, I was facing a lot of challenges at that time, and I was actually in talks when I was making that decision with another firm and talking about going to their firm as an employee. And when I sat back and tried to make a decision, going down the employee path would have been secure in the sense that I had a job and I knew I had an income and pay coming in. But I thought, well, hang on a minute. I've got this inkling, this desire to give it a go on my own. If I take that job, I'll probably never give my own firm a crack because I start at that firm. Then you're in your work. If you're enjoying it, you just continue. So I thought, well, hang on. This is I felt a little bit at a crossroads that if not now, then when? When would I start this business if it's not now with all of this going on? So I knew that if the business didn't work, I could go and get a job. But if I went into a job, I probably wouldn't come back out to start the business. Also, yes, it was hard with a 5-month-old, but probably it's harder now with a 2-year-old who's more aware and more active and runs into your office. So if I hadn't have started and was thinking about it now, probably the challenges are potentially greater than what I was facing back then. So I do think there is never the perfect time for anything in life or business, and you're always going to come up against roadblocks. So dispense with the excuses and just have a crack at it and see what happens. And I think you would be really surprised at how well you will go.
Yeah, I love that advice. And for anybody who's out there thinking about starting a business, there's never a perfect time. Just start taking those small steps and you'll work it out as you go. I think that's wonderful advice. So the other thing you talked about was being purposeful and being aware of comparisonitis. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah. So as they say, social media and what we see online is a highlight reel of life. So it is very rare that we are seeing the struggles of what is going on behind the people we follow. So that's the first thing, remembering that what we are seeing in the outside world isn't necessarily that person's reality. Also, the person that you might be comparing yourself to may have been in business a hell of a lot longer. And at one point in time, they were a startup as well. So I think it is very unfair to be comparing ourselves to others in a negative sense. Sure, we can aspire and be inspired by other people, but if we're comparing to others without knowing what's going on behind their closed doors, without knowing their challenges and what they've come through, it's really unfair, and you're almost setting yourself up mentally for failure. You need to be purposeful about what you're doing and why you are doing it. The reason shouldn't be because so-and-so is doing it. That's not the right reason. You need to find your why and be purposeful about actioning that. And with your decisions, being purposeful again. So don't just do something to follow the leader. Really think about why you're doing it, making a conscious decision to work on it for you and your business, not because it's just popular or trendy at that time.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's such important advice for everyone. One of my favorite sayings is it's not a race. And that applies to life, to business, to parenting, to everything. It's not a race. You're not behind someone else. You're not ahead of them. You're not missing out on anything. What's meant for you is meant for you. And your journey it's not like anyone else's. There'll be things that you achieve that no one else will achieve, and there'll be things that challenges that you face that no one else will face. And comparison isn't, it's not a positive thing. It doesn't help you away. Yeah.
I think too that if you are basing what you're doing off someone else and what they're doing, cracks will start to show fairly quickly because it's not authentic. You need to be you and show up as you, doing things how you want to do it based off a conscious decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, thank you so much for being our presenter this morning, Sarah. It's been wonderful hearing your advice, and thank you so much for sharing everything. I really am inspired by you and how courageous you are to have started your business, you know, despite all those challenges, and that you've just kept going and taking small steps. And you did win the Lawyers Weekly Sole Practitioner of the Year. Congratulations. That's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah,
You know?
thank you very
Yeah.
much. I'm very proud of that achievement. Being my first year in business that I won that. It was pretty stiff competition and it came as a huge surprise. So thank you, and thanks for the opportunity to present this morning. It's been really terrific.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we are launching Courage and Confidence, and Sarah has signed copies available, so you can get in touch with Sarah if you'd like to grab one. Sarah, what's the best way that people can reach you?
So I'm pretty accessible, to be honest, P. So on my slides, I did have my contact details, but you can go to my website, Vitality Law Australia. It's the same handle on Instagram and Facebook.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. And thanks everybody who joined us on the live stream and everyone watching the recording as well. We will see you all again soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.